champion, and that was where I thought he was going to come out as champion. He went into the match with a Money in the Bank briefcase with the chance of cashing it in immediately following the match, and he didn't do it. But the leap he gave to Brock Lesnar from inside of the ring through the announcer's table was amazing. He broke Brock Lesnar's ribs, and Lesnar continued to fight in that match. So he belongs somewhere in the equation with Lesnar and Reigns after losing to Randy Orton. And I said, you know, if Randy Orton and Rollins match comes before the championship match, or comes early on in the night rather, then we would see Rollins somehow factor into the main event, which obviously he did, and a lot of people didn't agree with that. I concur with you for that, because I didn't agree with how Rollins did it, but he did it and got away with it, just as he's gotten away with retaining the championship month after month against oppositions like Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose. Now, he's had assistance from people like J&J Security and members of the Authority, such as Kane. We've seen them have their differences in recent weeks. We've seen altercations between Seth Rollins and Kane more so than any other members of the Authority. We've seen him have differences with J&J Security, and he's tried to patch it up with the Authority. But the thing is, even though he's patched it up with the Authority, how long is this going to last? We've got a couple of weeks to go before the match between Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar goes down at Battleground. How long are the ties going to remain mended within the Authority? Triple H trying to explain to Kane and J&J Security the pressure of being champion, having to defend the title night in and night out. Here's the thing. Seth Rollins is not defending that title night in and night out unless you're keeping track of what's happening at the house shows. He's not defending the championship night in and night out. Now, the difference of defending it night in and night out is, in order to be defending it night in and night out, he's got to be defending it on television for the majority of the wrestling fans out there to know he's defending it night in and night out. You're not keeping track of the house shows, and that's the only way to determine whether or not he's defending it night in and night out. Now, the house shows are advertising matches like Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and stuff like that. But the thing is, we're not really confirming that he's defending it night in and night out. On average, Rollins is defending that championship at least once a month, which is a champion's requirement. A champion has to defend the championship at least once every 30 days, or else he's stripped of the championship. So we can't confirm for you, even though we can confirm for you that Seth Rollins is defending the championship night in and night out, he's getting away with seemingly the impossible, and I really don't agree with that. He's not my favorite WWE champion I have seen in recent years, because I have seen far more entertaining WWE champions than Seth Rollins. And here's a comparison for you that I've been throwing your way quite a bit when talking about Seth Rollins and how I've pretty much been against how he's represented the Authority and how he's been WWE champion. I have compared him to CM Punk. In the absence of Mr. Punk, it seems like Seth Rollins has been WWE's replacement of a CM Punk. He's a CM Punk knockoff, in my opinion, and he's gotten away with it a little bit too much. And that, to me, is unacceptable because of everything CM Punk did for the wrestling business, gave to WWE, gave to every wrestling promotion he's worked with, even after leaving WWE, and how opinionated Mr. Punk has been. It seems like in the way he drops promos, the way he compares himself to champions of the past, saying that he's going to be champion for a very long time, which definitely give it away for me. It seems like he's trying to compare himself or be a replacement for CM Punk, and especially when he said he was going to be champion for a very long time. Now, when CM Punk won the championship and began his 434-day reign as champion, he said the same thing to interim Raw general manager John Laurinaitis. He said Laurinaitis and WWE executives of the board had better get used to it because he was going to be champion for a very long time. Immediately following winning the title at WrestleMania, Seth Rollins comes out with a microphone, and on a live microphone allowed the same thing, that he was going to be champion for a very long time. Dare I say that he will not be champion for 434 days. He's got a long way to go. That is a milestone that took 25 years to set, and I think that with the pace being set by CM Punk, it's got to be someone really worthy of being a 435-day champion, or even coming close to tying the record of CM Punk. Dare I say Rollins will get away with that unless he's the Houdini of professional wrestling and can find ways to retain the championship within the next year and a half, which he's not going to be able to do. He's got to hold that title for 13 and a half months to surpass the record of CM Punk. I don't think he's going to do it. So to compare Seth Rollins and CM Punk as two of the same, I think would be a ludicrous comparison. And whatever happened to seeing CM Punk versus Seth Rollins? That was teased on NXT a number of years ago, back when Punk was champion and Rollins was the up-and-coming NXT champion. with so much promise. The future of the WWE. Whatever happened is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And what would ever happen if it did come down to that? Probably Punk would do what he allows he's going to do, and that would be punch Seth Rollins in the face if ever presented the opportunity to do so. CM Punk has called Seth Rollins matches. He knows all about Seth Rollins, and this is the interesting thing about Rollins versus Punk. NXT Superstar versus WWE Champion. That would be an awesome match to see because both of them seem to understand each other so well. And who knows what would happen if these two ever cross paths. I would love to see that match because of how similar the tail of the tape is. It would definitely be far different from seeing Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. So this is what we're faced with. You know, we're talking about dream matches for Seth Rollins, matches that will probably never happen, like Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan or Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. But this is what we're faced with for Seth Rollins as champion now. His next opposition is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar will return to the East. That will be in Tokyo on the 4th of July, coming up in just a couple of weeks' time from now. And the interesting thing you have to keep in mind about this equation is that WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar was never made to be pinned or submitted. So Lesnar is going in out of this match in Tokyo, of course, with a lot of vengeance from what happened to him at WrestleMania. And I think he has a case out of that championship, which is why I say this even more so than I have over the last number of months. Seth Rollins is the most desperate WWE champion we have seen in the last quarter of a century. He definitely is. He's not the best champion. He's not the most entertaining one we've seen on the microphone or in the ring. And I think we've seen far better champions. And I think I can get away with saying this. I think any champion will be better than the champion that we have now. I think that a lot of people would agree with me when I say that any champion will be better than the champion that we have now because we have seen far more entertaining champions than Seth Rollins. Hell, even The Miz was more entertaining of a champion than what Seth Rollins is right now. And I say that because at least The Miz could come out and cut a promo and get on your nerves. And he was getting on your nerves very effectively. And I'm not saying that Seth Rollins is not getting on our nerves very effectively, but hearing him come out week after week after week and saying he's the future of the WWE and actually going as far as to being endorsed for being the future of the WWE. I mean, that's got to get on anyone's nerves, but he hasn't gotten on our nerves as much as what champions of the past who have been paid to do so have done it. Even Brock Lesnar has gotten on our nerves more than what Seth Rollins has. I mean, when he defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, every WWE fan hated Brock Lesnar for ending The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania, a streak we waited over 20 years to see come to an end at the hands of Brock Lesnar. We waited 20 years for that, and that pissed us off. I know that pissed me off more than anything that happened last year in wrestling. Everything that happened last year, that was the most pissed off thing that happened for me, really leaving me in a position of being frustrated with WWE and WWE creative. So I think that, you know, there have been far more annoying wrestlers and far more annoying champions than what Seth Rollins is right now. Now, I know Seth Rollins is being paid to get on our nerves. He's obviously accomplishing that, or else he wouldn't have been champion for as long as what he has. And here's my philosophy on Seth Rollins. I think that if we didn't buy in to the idea that Seth Rollins was WWE champion and the future of the WWE and or in that situation, I think Seth Rollins would not be champion for as long as what he's been champion. I think we would see the title taken off him quicker than what we would if we were continuously buying in to Seth Rollins being champion, because as long as we buy into this idea, we're pretty much stuck with Seth Rollins. It's the same way we were stuck with Brock Lesnar until WrestleMania as champion, defending the title when he wanted against whoever he wanted. It was kind of just on his own terms. He was defending the championship, showing up for a couple of promos leading up to a pay-per-view title defense. And how many actual times did Brock Lesnar defend the championship? Daniel Bryan said something really interesting in a interview. In an interview and on commentary, he said that he had one less title defense than what Brock Lesnar had, and he was true. I think Lesnar had about maybe 3 title defenses until he lost the championship, and I think actually his 3rd or 4th defense, that was when he lost the title, that was at WrestleMania this year. So he didn't have that many title defenses. I think he just wanted the championship because he knew he could have it and get away with it because of the name he had established in the UFC, and WWE took the opportunity to give Brock Lesnar the championship because they knew how big of a name he was in the UFC, and he was coming out of the UFC with so much momentum off his stomach injury, and this was a way for Lesnar to rebound off of it, and the opportunity had never been bigger for WWE to sign Brock Lesnar to a lucrative contract, and that's exactly what they did on a your terms basis, where Lesnar could defend the championship and wrestle whenever he wanted, wrestle and defend titles whenever he wanted, and when Lesnar wants that title back, you better believe Lesnar is taking it. And if Lesnar wants the title back, if the time is now, he will take the title off of Seth Rollins. What's also interesting about this is a program could be derived for this. We could see more than one match between Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins, where Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins are kind of chasing after one another to get the better of the other in a game of one-upsmanship, which would be very interesting to see. I think that would definitely make it very unpredictable to find out when and where and how, if Lesnar's going to win the title, how he does it. There's also a number of wild cards being presented on the table for this. The chance that Paul Heyman could turn on Brock Lesnar as he's done in the past. We have seen Heyman be a wild card for opponents of Lesnar, where Lesnar's been turned on by his opponent and gone with Paul Heyman as a Paul Heyman guy. We know Paul Heyman prides himself on Paul Heyman guys and people who pontificate themselves to be Paul Heyman guys. So is Seth Rollins the next Paul Heyman guy? Because there's nobody who's a Paul Heyman guy other than Brock Lesnar. There's no stable for Paul Heyman. And if you take a look at Paul Heyman's track record, he's taken Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Midnight Express, Brock Lesnar himself, CM Punk, Curtis Axel, all the championships, some major championships, some mid-card titles. Regardless of how he's done it, Paul Heyman has the track record and the impressive resume. So he's going to do whatever he can to rekindle that reputation he has if Lesnar starts dropping the ball and letting him down, which he hasn't done at this point. But if Heyman has to go out there, put himself out there to maintain a reputation and to save his reputation, more importantly, because of everything that's happened to Lesnar since WrestleMania, you better believe Heyman is going to look at himself as number one, and he's going to do what he has to do to secure himself a future in this business. And I know that better than anybody after having sat down and interviewed over 90% of Heyman's original ECW roster. They all know what Heyman's like, and I know what Heyman's like, and he's going to do whatever in the hell he has to do to keep his reputation alive in the wrestling business, even if it means